The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Chapter 2, A Daily Philosophy on Becoming Legendary. He was a speaker of the finest kind, a genuine spellbinder. Nearing the end of a fabled career, and now in his 80s, he had become revered throughout the world as a grand master of inspiration, a legend of leadership, and a sincere statesman helping everyday people realizing their greatest gifts. In a culture filled with volatility, uncertainty, and insecurity, the Spellbinders events drew stadium sized numbers of human beings who longed not only to lead masterful life filled with creativity, productivity, and prosperity, but also to exist in a way that passionately elevated humanity, so that at the end they would feel confident they had left a wonderful legacy and made their mark on the generations that would follow. This man's work was unique. It blended insights and fortified the warrior within our characters with ideas that honored the soulful poet who resides inside the heart. His messages showed ordinary individuals how to succeed at the highest level of the business role, yet reclaim the magic of life richly lived. So, we return to the sense of awe we once knew before a hard and cold world placed our natural genius into bondage by an orgy of complexity, superficiality, and technological distraction. Though the spellbinder was tall, his advised ears left him slightly bent over. As he walked the platform, he stepped carefully yet gracefully. A preciously fitted charcoal grey suit with soft white pinstripes gave him an elegant look, and a pair of blue tinted eyeglasses added just the right amount of cool. Life is too short to play small at your talents. The spellbinder spoke to the room of thousands. You were born into the opportunity as well as the responsibility to become legendary. You have been built to achieve masterwork level projects, designed to realize unusual, important pursuits, and constructed to be a force for good on this tiny planet. You have it in you to reclaim sovereignty over your primal greatness in a civilization that has become fairly uncivilized, to restore your nobility in a global community where the majority shops for nice shoes and acquires expensive things yet rarely invests in a better self. Your personal leadership requires no demands. That you stop being a cyber zombie, relentlessly attracted to digital devices, and restructure your life to model mastery, exemplify dense decency, and relinquish the self centeredness that keeps good people limited. The great women and men of the world were all givers, not takers. Renounce the common delusion that those who accumulate the most win. Instead, do the work that is heroic, that stages your marketplace by the equality of its originality, as well as from the helpfulness it provides. While you do so, My recommendation is that you also create a private life strong in ethics, rich with marvelous beauty, and unyielding when it comes to the protection of your inner peace. This, my friends, is how your soul with the angels and work alongside the good. The spellbinder paused. He drew in a gulp of air as big as the mountain. His breathing grew strained and made a wheezing noise as he inhaled. He looked down at his stylish black boots that had op- that had been polished up to a military grade. Those in the front row saw a single tear drizzle down the time-worn yet once handsome face. His gaze remained downward. His silence was thunderous. The spellbinder appeared unsteady. After a series of stressful moments that had some in the audience shifting in their seats, the spellbinder put down the microphone he had been holding in his left hand. With his free hand, he tenderly reached into a pocket of his trousers and pulled out a crisply folded linen handkerchief. He wiped his cheek. Each of you has a call on your lives. Every one of you carries an instinct for excellence within your spirits. No one in this room needs to stay frozen in average and succumb to the mass mediocritization of behavior evident in society, along with the collective deprofessionalization of business so apparent in industry. Limitations is nothing more than a mentality that too many good people practice daily until they believe it's reality. It breaks my heart to see so many potentially powerful human beings stuck in a story where why they can't be extraordinary, professionally and personally. You need to remember that your excuses are seducers, your fears are lies, and your doubts are thieves. Many nodded, a few clapped, then many more applauded. I understand you, I really do, continued the spellbinder. I know you have had some difficult times in your life. We all have. I get that you might be feeling things haven't turned out the way you thought they would when you were a little kid, full of fire, desire, and wonder. You did not plan on each day looking the same, did you? In a job that might be smoothering your soul, dealing with stressful worries and endless responsibilities that stifle your originality and steal your energy, lusting after unimportant pursuits and hungry for the instant fulfillment of trivial desires, often driven by the technology that enslaves us instead of liberating us. Living the same week a few thousand times and calling it a life. I need to tell you that too many among us die at 30 and are buried at 80. So, I do get you. You hope things would be different, more interesting, more exciting, more fulfilling, special, and magical. The spellbinder's voice trembled as he spoke these last words. He struggled to breathe for an instant. A look for concern caused his brow to crinkle. He sat down on a cream colored chair that had been carefully placed at the side of the stage by one of his assistants. And yes, I am aware that there are also many in this room who are currently leading lives you love. You're an epic success in the world, fully on your game and enriching your families and communities with an electricity and that borders on otherworldly. Nice work. Bravo. And yet, you too have experienced seasons where you have been lost in the frigid and dangerous valley of darkness. You too have known the collapse of your creative magnificence as well as your productive eminence into a tiny circle of comfortableness, fearfulness, and a numbness that betrayed the mansions of mastery and reservoirs of bravery inside you. You too have been disappointed by the barren winters of life weakly lived. You too have been denied many of your most inspired childhood dreams. You too have been hurt by people you trusted. You too have had your idols destroyed. You too have had your innocent hearts devastated, living your life decimated, like a ruined country after ambitious foreign invaders infiltrated it. The cavernous conference hall was severely still. No matter where you are on the pathway of your life, please don't let the pain of an imperfect past hinder the glory of your fabulous future. You are so much more powerful than you may currently understand. Splendid victories and outright blessings are coming your way, and you're exactly where you need to be to receive the growth necessary for you to lead the unusual, productive, extremely prodigious, and exceptionally influential life that you've earned through your hardest trials. Nothing is wrong at this moment, even if it feels like everything's falling apart. If you sense your life's mess right now, this is simply because your fears are just a little stronger than your faith. With practice, you can turn down the volume of the voices of your scared self and increase the tone of your most triumphant side. The truth is that every challenging event you experienced, each toxic person that you've encountered, and all the trials you have endured have been perfect preparation to make you into the person that you are now. You needed these lessons to activate the treasures, talents, and powers that you were awakening within you. Nothing was an accident, zero was a waste. You have definitely, exactly where you need to be to begin the life of your most supreme desires. One that can make you an empire builder along with a world changer, and perhaps even a history maker. This all sounds easy, but it's a lot harder in reality, shouted a man in a red baseball cap, seated in the fifth row. He sported a grey t shirt and ripped jeans, the type you can buy torn at your local shopping mall. Though this outburst could have seemed disrespectful, the pitch of the participant's voice and his body language displayed genuine admiration for the spellbinder. I agree with you. You're a wonderful human being, responded the spellbinder, his grace influencing all participants and his voice sounding somewhat stronger as he stood up from his chair. Ideals are worth nothing unless backed by application. The smallest implementations is always worth more than the grandest of intentions. And if being an amazing person and developing a legendary life was easy, everyone would be doing it. Know what I mean? Sure, dude, replied the man in the red cape as he rubbed his lower lip with a finger. Society has sold us a series of mistruths, the spellbinder continued. That pleasure is preferable to the terrifying yet majestic fact that all possibility requires hard work, regular reinvention, and a dedication as deep as the sea to living our harbors of safety daily. I believe that the seduction of complacency and an easy life is 100 times more brutal, ultimately, than a life where you go all in and take an unconquerable stand for your brightest dreams. World class begins where your comfort zone ends, is a rule that successful, the influential, and the happiest always remembers. The man nodded. Groups of people in the audience were doing the same. From a young age, we are programmed into thinking that moving through life, loyal to the values of mastery, ingenuity, and decency, should need little effort. And so, if the road gets tough and requires some patience, we think we are on the wrong path, commented the spellbinder as he grasped an arm of the wooden chair and folded his thin frame into the seat again. We have encountered a culture of soft, weak, and delicate people who can't keep promises, who bail on commitments, and who quit on their aspirations the moment the smallest obstacle shows up. The orator then sighed loudly. Hard is good. Real greatness and the realization of your inherent genius is meant to be difficult sport. Only those devoted enough to go to the fairy edges of their highest limits will expand them. And the suffering that happens along the journey of materializing your special powers, strongest abilities, and most inspiring ambitions is one of the largest sources of human satisfaction. A major key to happiness and internal peace is knowing you have done whatever it took to earn your rewards and passionately invested the effortful audacity to become your best. Jazz legend Miles Davis stretched himself ferociously past the normal his field knew to fully exploit his magnificent potential. Michelangelo sacrificed enormously mentally and emotionally, physically and spiritually as he produced his ever awesome art. Rosa Parks, a simple seamstress with outstanding courage, endured a blunt humiliation when she was arrested for not giving up her seat on a segregated bus, igniting the civil rights movement. Charles Darwin demonstrated the kind of resolve that virtuosity demands by studying branches. Yes, barnacles for 8 long years as he formulated his famed theory of evolution. The kind of dedication to the optimization of expertise would now be labeled as crazy by the majority of our modern world that spends huge amount of their irreplaceable lifetime watching streams of selfies, the breakfast of virtual friends, and violent video games. Noted the spellbinder as he peered around the hall, as if committed to looking each of the attendees straight in the eye. Stephen King worked as a high school writing teacher in an industrial laundry before selling Carrie, the novel that made him famous. The aging presenter continued. Oh, and please note that King was so discouraged by the rejections and denials that he threw the manuscript he wrote in his rundown trailer into the garbage, surrounding surrendering to the struggle. It was only when his wife, Tabitha, discovered the work while her husband was away, wiped off his cigarette ashes, read the book, and then told his author that it was brilliant that King submitted it for publication. Even then, his advance and hardcover right was a paltry $2,500. Are you serious? Murmured the woman seated near the stage. She wore a lush green hat with a big scarlet feather sticking out of it and was clearly content with marching to her own drumbeat. I am, said the spellbinder. And while Vincent van Gogh created 900 paintings and over 1,000 drawings in his lifetime, his celebrity started after his death. His drive to produce was inspired by the ego fool with popular applause, but by a wiser instinct that enticed him to see just how much his creative power he could unlock, no matter how much hardship he had to endure. Becoming legendary is never easy, but I'd prefer the journey to the heartbreak of being stuck in ordinary that so many potentially heroic people deal with constantly, articulate the spellbinder firmly. Anyway, let me simply say that the place where your greatest discomfort lies is also the spot where your largest opportunities lives. The belief that disturbs you, the feelings that threaten you, the projects that unnerve you, and the unfoldments of your talents that the insecure part of your resisting are precisely where you need to go. Lean deeply towards these doorways into your bigness as a creative producer, seeker of personal freedom, and possibilitarian. And then embrace these beliefs, feelings, and projects quickly instead of structuring your life in a way that designed to dismiss them. Walking into the variety things that scare you is how you reclaim your forgotten power and how you get back the innocence and awe you lost after childhood. Suddenly, the spellbinder started to cough, midly at first, then violently, like he had been possessed by a demon hell bent on revenge. The wings, a man in the black suit with an aggressive crew cut spoke into a mouthpiece, tugged discreetly into his shirt cuff. The light began to flicker, then dim. A few audience members who were located near the platform stood, unsure what to do. A uniquely pretty woman with her hair in a crisp bun, a clenched smile, and a tight black dress with an embroidered white collar rushed up the metal stairs that the spellbinder had ascended at the beginning of his talk. She carried a phone in one hand and a well worn notebook in another. Her red high heels made a click, clack, click, clack sound as she raced towards her employer. Yet the woman was too late. The spellbinder crumpled to the floor like a punch drunk boxer with a large heart but weak skills in the final round of a once glorious career that he should have ended many years earlier. The old presenter lay still. A tiny river of blood escaped from the cut of his head. sustained to his fall. His glass sat next to him. The handkerchief was still in his hand. His once sparkling eyes remained closed.